It all kicks off with our protagonist firing his weapon without a second thought. The shot lands square in the chest of a suit named Cao. Just like that, the dead boss's goons freak out and start returning fire. With no way out, our guy ends up getting turned into Swiss cheese. Down and bleeding out, he reflects that the world's only fair rule is that everyone gets just one life, and smirks, thinking Cao Su never expected to go down by his hand. Looking at his enemy's body, he notes that having a mountain of cash doesn't do you any good when it can't save your skin. Reaching out with a bloody hand, he feels a pang of regret for his parents, feeling like fate dealt him a really cruel hand. But his will to live is screaming, and he refuses to just lay down and accept this ending. As he falls into a dark abyss, the guy screams with all his might that he's not giving up. Suddenly, his eyes fly open in pure shock. The protagonist jolts awake, gasping for air in his own bed. Checking his body, he's totally confused to find himself in one piece, since he clearly remembered getting taken out by those bodyguards. Looking around, he recognizes his old room from his student days and wonders if he somehow got reborn in the past. His attention is immediately grabbed by a poster on the wall for a virtual reality game called Death Conviction. Then it clicks, the game's servers had just launched, meaning he really did travel back in time. Holding a picture frame, he confirms his name is Ni Yan. The photo shows him with his parents during a happy moment from the past. He remembers clearly that, back then, his family made a living trading metallic plutonium on the border. The business brought in so much money that his dad opened a metallurgy company, and they got rich fast. But the good times didn't last. They attracted the greed of major financial groups and got backstabbed. With the company bankrupt, his father couldn't handle the pressure, took poison, and passed away in a deep depression. With no one left to support him, Nian remembers how his only way out was that kamikaze attack to take Cao Su down with him. Since the heavens have given him a second chance, he swears he won't lose anything ever again. Knowing the game Conviction is about to change the world, he focuses on a key fact in his past life. He was a level 180 grand thief. Checking his phone, he sees the date and realizes the game has only been open for 7 days, meaning he has plenty of time. Since the max level for players right now is probably 10, he's sure his future knowledge is more than enough to blow past everyone. Racking his brain, he realizes he has the exact amount of money saved up to buy the game's lowest tier helmet. As he pulls on a shirt, he makes a silent promise that his enemy will pay dearly and face complete ruin. With that, the guy dashes out of his house, completely focused on changing his own destiny. Night falls over the city as he sets off to put his plan into motion. Holding the helmet, he knows he's late to the party, but he's confident he'll crush the competition and climb to the top. Without wasting another second, the guy puts the gear on his head. The system boots up Conviction, and immediately asks the player to choose their nation on the massive world map. The first option is the Greenland Empire, a human-dominated civilization led by a council. Next up is the Saturn Empire, formed by a grand alliance of beastmen, dwarves, and elves. There's also the Dark Faction, made up of demon and undead tribes under a dictatorship. For those who prefer to stay neutral, there's the option to join the enormous tribe of giants. But Nian decides to follow the same path as his past life and chooses the Wind Thief class from the human faction. The system confirms his choice as his avatar is generated in an intense burst of light. On the registration screen, he uses his real name to christen the character. With everything set, a success message pops up on the panel, and he's transferred into the game. The newbie materializes right in the middle of the bustling central plaza of Carol City. Looking at his own hand and his stats, all at 0, he feels a wave of nostalgia to be back in this virtual body. Right off the bat, he dumps his starting points into strength and agility, making sure he doesn't mess up his build. Walking through the city, he spots the teleportation point that takes players to various other regions. Strolling through the commercial area, he remembers that another town sells a much better and cheaper starting dagger. He even chuckles, remembering how he got ripped off buying junk in the past, but knows his sharp memory won't let that happen again. Suddenly, the thief spots a player selling a stealth skill book for 6 coins. The newbies around are complaining that the price is insane and that nobody has that kind of cash right now. Ignoring the commotion, Nian walks up to the vendor to confirm the price. Knowing the technique is essential, the MC cooks up a plan. Remembering a hidden chest in a dangerous area, full of confidence, he proposes taking the book for free in exchange for a valuable secret that can yield dozens of the same book per day. The vendor instantly loses his cool, telling him to get lost and accusing him of trying to pull a fast one. Unfazed, Nian tells the guy to chill out and nails the exact location where the items were being farmed. The merchant is in total shock, unable to understand how a stranger knew the precise coordinates. Intrigued by how a level 1 player could have so much information, the guy in armor starts to consider the offer. Making up his mind, the vendor decides to take a gamble and hands the book over to the protagonist. The trade is done, and Nian praises the guy's straightforward attitude, giving him the full details on the enemy camp. Super excited, the player says he's going to test the route right away, while Nian asks him to send a few extra books later. Promising to return the favor if the tip works, the new ally disappears into the teleportation pillar. Now with the item in hand, the guy decides his first real objective will be to get that valuable chest. He quickly travels to Track Village, a place bustling with adventurers gearing up for expeditions. Wasting no time, the thief uses the book, and the system confirms he's learned the stealth skill. The protagonist's body is enveloped in a dark aura as soon as he activates the technique. Taking advantage of the camouflage, he bolts from the village like a true shadow. He sprints down the stone roads, focused on reaching his destination quickly. Soon, the landscape changes and the newbie enters the dark and gloomy wildcat zone. The place is infested with level 5 monsters, enemies far beyond his current fighting ability. Sneaking carefully between the trees, he finally spots his prize resting on a giant log. Nian remembers that the rarity of the chests determines the quality of the treasure inside. The reward system ranges from basic white all the way to the coveted legendary tier. Focusing on the silver box, he's relieved to see that the guaranteed loot from this spot hasn't been nabbed yet. Even knowing that fighting here would be a one-way trip, he reasons that going down at level 1 means no experience loss. With nothing to lose, he summons his protective shadow and leaps toward the danger. The guy's silhouette vanishes into the thick forest as he risks it all for the treasure. Hiding on a branch, Nian calculates that his stealth only lasts for 2 minutes, so he needs to be quick to open the chest in time. One of the enormous wildcats is watching the area with glowing eyes and keen attention, knowing he can't get too close without being detected. The guy makes a careful leap. He drops silently through the trees, perfectly dodging the deadly monsters. Touching the ground softly, the newbie doesn't make a single sound. Without wasting a moment, the thief approaches the treasure and begins the long process of picking the lock. Trying to stay calm, he knows the magical effect could break at any second if he makes a mistake. One of the felines passes extremely close to his hiding spot, making the air thick with tension. After exactly 27 agonizing seconds of waiting, the heavy lid finally opens. Looking at the contents, the protagonist feels a huge sense of relief as he sees his plan worked. Holding a dark, covered book, he celebrates getting the item that will guarantee his perfect path to leveling up. It's the Vital Strike technique, a powerful skill focused on critical hits. Thrilled, he recognizes that this high-level ability will cut the game's initial difficulty in half. Consuming the knowledge on the spot, the guy feels completely prepared. However, the camouflage effect wears off at that exact moment, and 2 monstrous beasts lock their eyes on him. Getting attacked from all sides by the creatures, he just calmly greets the monsters as he's sent flying backward. Thanking them for guarding the chest so well, the protagonist accepts his fate without hesitation. Since he's still at level 0 and only has starter gear, he loses absolutely no experience or items from this takedown. The system confirms the kill and begins the automatic teleport to the nearest save point. Respawning in the city center, the guy jokes that this free express trip is super useful for saving time. Focused on his goal, he decides it's time to kick off the second phase of his grand plan. Using his agility, he darts through the crowded streets in search of his next stop. To move forward, he needs 20 copper coins, so the first step is to find a quick way to make some cash. Finding the village hunter, Nian accepts a job to collect 20 giant rat skulls. Next, he talks to a farmer and picks up another quest to eliminate 50 of the same rodents. Approaching the local apothecary, the newbie mentions that he's already helping the other townsfolk with their pest problems. Impressed, the shadowy man gives him a hidden quest requiring 20 one-rat tails, a secret the protagonist already knew about. Out in the hunting fields, a level 1 target appears, snarling as it scurries through the pasture. Giving it no chance to defend itself, Nian lunges with his dagger and activates Vital Strike, dealing massive critical damage. The monster is eliminated in a single hit, yielding the first necessary items for the quests back in town. A golden light glows from the defeated enemy, surprising the guy with his luck at getting a piece of equipment so early. The item is a pair of sturdy leather pants that grant a small bonus to the character's base defense. Sizing up his find, the protagonist calculates that selling this at the auction house will net him at least 7 copper coins. Just then, a large pack of wild rats senses his presence and charges in to attack. Gliding across the battlefield like a shadow, the thief uses his special technique over and over to shred the enemies. Completely in the zone, he doesn't waste a single movement and clears the area quickly. An hour of hard work later, the newbie returns to the peaceful outskirts of the starting village. Turning everything in, he receives 34 coins and is surprised to get an unexpected bonus of 3 health potions from the secret quest. Seizing the moment, he puts the armor up for auction and decides his next stop will be the weapons shop. Walking through the streets, he soon finds the rustic establishment specializing in combat gear. The shopkeeper greets him with great enthusiasm, guaranteeing he has the best blades in the entire region. Getting straight to the point, Nian asks for a level 0 crossbow that costs no more than 40 copper and has good range. The merchant presents his masterpiece, a triple-shot, long-range weapon that costs exactly 30 coins. Satisfied with the goods, the guy throws all his money on the counter and spends the rest on 9,000 piercing bolts. With his inventory full of ammo, the adventurer says his goodbyes and heads off to execute the real phase of his master plan. Leaving the city gates behind, the guy declares that it's time to hunt in the dangerous bison zone. He knows all too well that a level 5 leader is so ridiculously strong that not even the best player on the server would dare face it right now. But thanks to his knowledge from the future, the protagonist is fully confident he can take down the enormous monster, even at level 0. Arriving at the plains filled with beasts grazing peacefully, he analyzes the rocky terrain around him. Climbing carefully up the rocks, the newbie positions himself high on a steep cliff. Checking the mental coordinates from his past life, he confirms he's found the perfect hideout for his strategy. Peeking from above, the adventurer spots his huge target in the middle of the herd of common animals. The imposing bison leader radiates a fiery, intimidating aura as it peacefully patrols its territory. Prepping his heavy crossbow, Nian notes that the cliff's height gives him the perfect safe range advantage. Aiming carefully, he fires the first sequence of bolts toward the unsuspecting beast. Hitting the target dead on, he deals only a measly 1 point of damage due to the massive level difference between them. Unfazed, he reloads the weapon and vows to slowly chip away at the creature using all 9,000 of his shots. More metallic volleys rain down from the sky, hitting the monster's head again and again. Feeling the constant sting, the animal loses a bit of health and flies into an absolute rage. Roaring with hatred, the enormous leader begins a brutal charge toward the base of the rock wall. The impact of its horn against the mountain shakes everything, but the guy knows the beast will never reach him in this glitched spot on the map. Completely helpless, the boss gets stuck at the base of the cliff, taking a non-stop shower of critical hits. Time passes slowly as the gigantic stock of ammunition in the player's inventory gradually dwindles. 3 long hours go by, and the snorting monster continues to stubbornly resist, even with its health bar nearly empty. Sweating from exhaustion, Nian is impressed by the leader's toughness after it swallowed nearly 9,000 bolts. Forcing his numb arms to move, the marksman fires the last lethal volleys straight at the creature's skull. A well-aimed bolt pierces a vital point, dealing the final, decisive point of damage. Defeated by persistence, the colossal creature collapses to the ground, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. The body of the fearsome bison leader lies sprawled in the valley, marking the absolute victory of the newbie hunter. Bathed in a celestial light thanks to the high-level kill bonus, the protagonist shoots straight up to the coveted level 2. Climbing down from the safety of his perch, he approaches the corpse to inspect the glowing red prize on the ground. Collecting the loot, he holds up a bronze horn dagger that still needs its stats revealed. Knowing that equipment is divided into various rarities, he celebrates the incredibly low chance of getting something so valuable this early. Unlike the basic junk, bronze weapons have much higher attack power and carry a random special enchantment. Proud of his success, Nian calculates the blade is worth a fortune. But first, he needs to find someone to reveal its hidden stats. A sale notification for his equipment pops up on the screen, and the player known as Flying Stone messages the protagonist to chat. Excited, the ally confirms that the tip about the secret spot really worked, and Nian lets him know he's already gotten 2 stealth books from there. Asking for a copy later, the guy in armor questions how he knew about such a great spot while being only level 0. The newbie lies smoothly, claiming he had an account before but deleted it to restart the game with a focus on being a thief. At that, Flying Stone asks if his partner has already cleared the shaman's camp dungeon, as his entire team was recently wiped out there. Not missing a beat, the protagonist charges 2 silver coins for the complete guide to the challenge, and the ally agrees on the spot. The call ends, and he's quite pleased for having traded just one common book for valuable information. Running through the green fields, the thief decides it's the perfect time to finally identify his dagger's attributes. Upon arriving in the quiet track village, he walks quickly through the bustling streets toward the right establishment. As soon as he finds the appraiser, the adventurer hands the mysterious blade directly to her. The woman calmly analyzes the object and informs him that the identification service will cost exactly 10 copper coins. Shocked by the fee, the guy quickly deduces that the market price for the weapon must be at least 12 silver coins. So, he opens his inventory without complaint and hands over the required coins to complete the appraisal process. A strong magical energy flows through the specialist's hands as the spell reveals the true nature of the hidden equipment. The system finally displays that the horn dagger is a powerful bronze item that grants 18 points of attack. With the weapon in hand, the guy notes that its base damage is 10 points higher than a common blade, putting him in an unbeatable position. Even with good items, he recognizes he lacks the resources to heal his wounds and stay alive in long battles. Since health potions and magic spells are too expensive, he decides that learning the bandage skill is the best option. Arriving at the local apothecary, the adventurer goes straight to the counter to ask for 2 basic recovery potions. The vendor hands over the vials immediately, and the protagonist takes the opportunity to learn his combat medic technique. His next journey takes him to the dangerous and choppy shores of the massive Rando Lake. There, the area is overrun by fierce fishmen, proving that the only way to cross without a fight is by using stealth. Suddenly, a large regional announcement panel completely blocks his view of the landscape. The message from the victorious Return Guild demands that all solo players leave the area immediately. Nai Yan remembers all too well how this same group acted with extreme arrogance and hunted him for months in his past life. Holding on to that old grudge, he swears he'll collect every penny of that debt, slowly and without any rush. Focusing on his main objective, the guy activates his special technique, and his body is swallowed by the forest shadows. Thanks to the visual advantage, he advances stealthily, slipping past the monsters patrolling the lake's edge unnoticed. However, just as the camouflage effect wears off, a giant fireball materializes out of nowhere, flying straight for his back. Aided by his quick reflexes, the thief barely dodges the magic attack as the system warns of imminent combat. The attacker, named Purple Flame, tells the guy to get lost, reinforcing that solo players are forbidden in the region. Faced with the threat, the protagonist understands that fighting a mage requires either closing the distance quickly or running for it. But running from a fight isn't his style, and the newbie calculates that the enemy's spell takes exactly 2 seconds to recharge. With that perfect window identified, he charges like a lightning bolt straight at the completely surprised caster. Already backing away in a panic, the sorcerer scoffs, saying the idiot is digging his own grave by challenging their entire team. Next, a violent circle of fire erupts from the ground around the mage to repel any approach. The impact of the magical explosion hits Nian head on, dealing massive damage that drastically reduces his health. He immediately pulls out the instant heal potion he bought minutes ago and restores his health without breaking stride. The thief then asks if the enemy really thought he could get away unscathed after letting the distance get so short. Desperate from the relentless charge, the mage tries to create more protective flames and yells for the target to back off. Confident, the sorcerer figures a beginner thief can't have more than 20 health points left after taking that hit. The guild member trusts his own remaining stamina and prepares a final attack, blindly believing in his victory. Furious at the affront, the caster launches his lethal spell toward the dusty ground to eliminate the threat. The protagonist escapes the impact area unscathed and grips his new horn dagger with extreme firmness. The deadly blade glows brightly in the dust as he executes a powerful vital strike straight into his unprotected opponent's chest. Falling defeated to the ground, the mage is completely shocked, unable to understand how he lost a direct confrontation so quickly. The sorcerer soon realizes he used a heal and tries to figure out where a solo player got the money for such an expensive potion. Nian coldly replies that the jerk will have plenty of time to think about that after he respawns in the city. He seizes the chance to pick up the enemy's bronze staff, knowing he needs to get out of there fast before reinforcements arrive. Just then, other furious guild members appear on the horizon, telling the killer to stop right where he is. Seeing their target running for the shore, one of the reinforcements ironically asks if the coward thinks he can actually get away. A burly warrior takes the lead of the pack and begins a violent leap, his giant sword raised for the kill. The crushing blow comes down with overwhelming force from the sky, but the adventurer dodges it brilliantly and nimbly. The sword collides brutally with the rocks on the ground, kicking up dense dust and cracking the earth. The attacker is extremely frustrated to realize that this newbie's movements are incredibly faster than normal. Without a second's hesitation, the protagonist chugs a water-breathing potion and dives headfirst into the deep waters of the lake. In a last-ditch effort to prevent the humiliating escape, the swordsman launches a powerful flaming attack from a distance. The wave of fire travels burning through the air, crossing the cliff straight for the fugitive's vulnerable back. Looking over his shoulder, Nian assesses the real danger of the magic approaching at high speed. Despite the deadly charge, the guy's body plunges into the cold waters safely just before the flames can reach him. The hasty dive kicks up a gigantic pillar of water, dramatically marking the exact spot of his escape. The aggressors stop at the edge of the cliff, admitting they don't have any special items to start a pursuit at the bottom of the lake. Their irritated team leader arrives right behind them and curtly asks where their teammate's brazen killer ran off to. As soon as they mention the dive, the commander immediately orders them to find out the mysterious enemy's username. Upon hearing the name is Nirvana Flame, the captain swears that thief will be hunted down without mercy next time. Already swimming through the silent depths, the protagonist is relieved to have shaken the group and focuses on the hidden chests. His memory of the future serves him perfectly, and he soon spots a treasure crate resting among the rocks at the bottom. The guy unlocks the submerged compartment and gets a magic pearl that grants 30 minutes of underwater breathing. But the calm is brutally interrupted when a massive steel trident dangerously scrapes past his head. Surprised by the swift ambush, the intruder realizes too late that he's walked straight into the central lair of the region's fishmen. Since he's fighting in an aquatic environment, he knows all too well that he has no chance of winning a direct fight against the natives. Thirsting for fresh blood, two terrifying monsters dart at high speed to tear apart the completely defenseless intruder. On the surface above them, several spells explode violently against the water, drawing the attention of the entire fierce tribe. The creatures abandon their pursuit of the intruder and leap out of the lake, aiming to eliminate the troublemaking guild members. Thrilled with his immense luck, the thief is grateful for the perfect distraction the arrogant group provided to save his hide. Swimming through the depths, the protagonist finally finds the heart of the lake island he was looking for. Breaking the surface of the water, he gasps for air, feeling an enormous sense of relief to be safe again. But as he reaches the shore, the guy hears a surprised shout and immediately recognizes the girl fighting there. The newbie is shocked to see it's the holy mage who was part of his own team in his past life. Recalling the many adventures they shared, Nian thinks this reunion can only be fate at work. Just then, the girl notices his presence and tenses up, thinking the stranger is going to use the monsters as a chance to attack her. Without saying a word, the guy runs right past her, focused only on the imminent threats. With his dagger in hand, the thief unleashes a powerful vital strike directly on the water spider that was chasing her. The mage takes advantage of the unexpected help and summons a holy judgment to blast the other creature that was on her tail. Like a perfect team, the duo attacks in total sync, annihilating the remaining beasts with zero difficulty. Seeing the enemies turn to dust, the girl breathes a sigh of relief and thanks the stranger for the crucial help. The adventurer says it was no problem at all and introduces himself by his player name, Nirvana Flame. Hearing that peculiar name, the young woman is quite surprised and thoughtful about the huge coincidence. She connects the dots instantly and wonders to herself if this guy is the same Nian she knows outside the game. Finally, the mage introduces herself as Cha-Cha and sends a friend request, promising to return the favor in the future. With the friendship accepted in the system, the protagonist asks what she's doing on this dangerous island all by herself. She explains that she needs to hunt the spiders to get water pouches, so he quickly suggests they form a party to farm together. Excited by the idea, Cha opens a trade window and offers the fine silks she gathered earlier as a reward for his help. Looking at his inventory, Nian is impressed to see that the 12 silks are worth an incredible 36 copper coins on the market. Noticing his surprise, the girl explains that the value doesn't compare to the priceless experience she would have lost if she had gone down there. Suddenly, a massive leader water spider emerges from nowhere, startling the young woman with its monstrous size and presence. Wasting no time on panic, the protagonist sends a quick party invite so they can share the combat points. Right after, he charges forward fearlessly and sinks his dagger into the creature with a vital strike, dealing absurd damage to its carapace. Providing support from the rear, The mage conjures her brilliant holy judgment and launches it straight at the spider boss. The explosion of light hits the monster dead on, taking out an impressive 70 health points in one go. Annoyed by the attacks, the beast tries to crush the thief with its sharp claws, but he manages to leap to the side just in time. Still in the air, the guy pulls out his repeating crossbow and tells his partner to focus on damage while he draws all the enemy's attention. The bolts pierce the monster's back repeatedly, keeping the beast completely obsessed with the annoying marksman. With the path clear, Chache agrees to the risky strategy and prepares another deadly magic attack with her long staff. The brilliant spell hits the target lethally, ensuring another massive blow in this flawless cooperative battle. The system announces that the leader has been successfully defeated, and the giant spider's body collapses lifelessly, splashing water everywhere. Deeply intrigued, the girl reflects on how their synergy felt so natural, as if they had been fighting together for years. Noticing his partner staring intently at his face, the marksman calmly asks if something is wrong. She quickly hides her embarrassment and praises his insane skills, asking why someone so good always plays alone. When he replies that he just prefers solitude, Chacha invites him to join her team's raid on the Trent Forest. Knowing it's a deadly level 3 dungeon, the thief immediately asks about the vital stats of her shield warriors. The mage confidently replies that they have 2 powerful tanks on the team, each with 53 defense. Being blunt, Nian warns that if their defense doesn't hit the 60s, the boss will wipe out the front line in a single hit. Shocked by this inside information about the monster's crits, the young woman doesn't understand where he gets such absurd details about the game. But she laments that getting bronze gear to boost that defense is unrealistic, and the team has already prepared too much to back out now. Full of confidence, the guy claims there's another, very simple solution: let him take command of the entire operation. A bit unsure about the bold proposal, the girl says she trusts his potential, but it will be tough to convince her guildmates. He agrees to wait while she tries to make the deal and turns his attention to the loot the spider boss dropped on the island's illuminated ground. Impressing the mage once again, the protagonist uses his appraisal skill to identify a pair of fine silk gloves of bronze rarity. Seeing that the piece's magical attributes are useless for his combat style, the guy hands the rare glove to her without a second thought. To make up for the gift, he shows her that he got a thief's assassination book and a rare silk item, deciding to keep only those. Very grateful that her ally also did well with the loot, she hugs the new piece of defensive gear, promising to use it wisely. Just then, a global announcement appears in the air, stating that servers worldwide will shut down for maintenance in exactly 3 minutes. With little time left, the girl waves cheerfully to her new hunting partner, assuring him they'll meet up in the next session. The guy waves back and starts logging out, accepting that the insane monster slaying marathon is finally over for today. Back in the real world, Nian removes the heavy virtual helmet and notices from the light that the morning of the second day has already filled the room. Hurriedly putting on his running shoes, the young man acknowledges that his avatar has gotten strong, but his physical body still needs training. Clenching his fists in anger, he knows his greatest enemy will be surrounded by goons, and he can't rely on luck alone to stay alive. With this steely focus, the protagonist leaves his apartment complex and starts jogging through the city's leafy, bustling neighborhood. But as he tries to cross a major avenue without looking properly, a monstrous truck appears out of nowhere and screeches to a halt right near him. The shock is so brutal that the guy stumbles backward, falling painfully onto the hot asphalt as bags fly through the air. Still stunned by the near-fatal accident, he hears a soft, completely familiar voice calling his real name on the street. A young woman runs toward him in absolute panic, and the guy immediately recognizes her as his old, beloved classmate, Shi Yao. Gently holding his injured arm, the girl scolds him for his absurd carelessness while assessing the scrapes from the fall. Pulling the injured guy toward her own imported car, his friend informs him in a commanding tone that she has an emergency first aid kit inside. As he quietly receives the bandages, the guy silently regrets being such a coward in the past that he never confessed his feelings. The young woman cleans the blood from the cut and gives him a friendly scolding, begging him for the love of God to stop being so recklessly blind. Completely enchanted by her care, Nian just stares into the beautiful eyes of the old friend he loved and lost so tragically. Embarrassed by his intense, silent gaze, she asks if he heard her complaint, and he turns on the charm, saying that now he has her here. The girl turns her face away, bright red with embarrassment, and feigns deep annoyance, claiming she hates having to take care of him before slamming the door. As she speeds her pink car down the street, Xiao pieces together the suspicious facts and seriously deduces that the smooth talker is Nirvana Flame. The protagonist feels immense relief as he watches the car disappear peacefully. But his aura soon darkens as he remembers the one responsible for her ruin. Cutting through the tense mood on the asphalt, the phone in his pocket buzzes wildly, displaying a call from his old and best friend, Tang Yao. As soon as he answers, the guy hears his partner yelling nonstop, demanding to know what hole he's been hiding in for 2 straight days. Overjoyed to hear that energetic voice again, Nian mentally thanks the heavens that his friend is alive and well in this timeline. But the marksman bitterly recalls that Tang Yao was brutally taken out in a dark alley after getting into a fight over a woman. Right after, the loudmouth appears physically on the street and grabs his buddy's neck in an aggressive but friendly bear hug. The blonde partner excitedly asks if he's hooked on the game of the moment, and the thief proudly confirms he's hit level 2. Impressed by his friend's frantic pace, the level 3 arcane mage pulls the marksman along, demanding a mandatory visit to the dueling bar. Arriving at the modern, illuminated virtual club, they observe the entertainment arenas, where takedowns don't cost you any stats. Inside the modern facility, the two walk through an area where duels always involve betting money or equipment. Right away, a suit with blue hair named Wei Kai scoffs at the protagonist's friend, asking if he came to hand over more money again. Noticing the thief is there too, the arrogant guy provokes him, asking if the lesson he taught him last time wasn't enough. Ignoring the insults, Tang Yao reassures his partner, guaranteeing those guys wouldn't have the guts to do anything in here. Intrigued, the adversary stares at the newbie, wondering why he's so calm today and questioning if the kid has gotten bolder. Losing his patience, the mage demands they stop messing around and proposes a 200 coin bet per round. The virtual arena activates quickly, announcing the clash between the level 3 arcane mage and the level 3 berserker. Sizing up the situation from a distance, Nian notes that a berserker with a charge ability is a huge disadvantage for his friend. As soon as the flat plains map generates, the marksman concludes that the terrain makes it even harder for a mage to dodge. Taking advantage of the weight, one of the goons named Shi Feng decides to challenge the protagonist to a quick round as well. The guy accepts the invitation without hesitation, but coldly warns that he'll only play 1 round, because he's not interested in small-time bets. Furious at the level 2's arrogance, the challenger offers up all 700 of his coins to teach the punk a lesson. The system registers the parallel match, putting the win thief face to face with the level 2 ranger. The surrounding scenery dissolves and quickly recreates a dense bamboo forest as their battleground. While the enemy seriously surveys the area, the protagonist activates his stealth ability and immediately vanishes. A strong wind blows, rustling the leaves throughout the isolated area, as the ranger carefully searches for any trace of his target. Full of confidence, Shi Feng leaps over a log, declaring that the arrogant guy is definitely going down hard today. Stopping in the middle of the dirt path, the marksman tries to figure out what hole the kid managed to hide in so quickly. Silently dropping from the foliage, the thief reflects that concealing his presence is pure instinct after 10 years of experience. The protagonist's body lands softly right behind his opponent, making absolutely no noise in the process. Without wasting a second, he sinks his dagger into the enemy, ensuring a direct hit that takes out 40 health points at once. The impact catches Shi Feng completely by surprise. He whips his head around in shock, trying to understand when the target got behind him. Finishing the lethal move, the guy declares with extreme coldness that this fight is already over. He then executes the vital strike technique, delivering a brutal critical attack of 70 points straight to the ranger's chest. Unable to withstand the massive damage, the opponent's body shatters into a burst of glowing pixels, confirming his immediate elimination. Outside the booths, the spectators are dumbfounded by the challenger's incredibly swift defeat. Stepping out of the simulator casually, Nian thinks that using his advanced skills against a beginner is almost too cruel. With his helmet off, the loser remains stunned, realizing he was taken down with just 1 hit and super simple moves. Unable to hide his disbelief, the ranger mentally questions when that kid became so decisive and lethal. Just then, the protagonist's mage friend is thrown to the ground and pinned by the berserker, ending the other duel in a humiliating defeat. Walking back completely frustrated, Tang Yao reports that he lost 1,200 coins in just 2 quick rounds. The partner complains angrily that the guy's anti-magic aura completely nullified his combat abilities. The thief calmly explains that the aura only reduces a little damage, and that beating a berserker is simple if you time it right. Impressed by the technical knowledge, the blonde friend gets closer, asking where the kid learned so many battle details. But their conversation is cut short by the arrival of Wei Kai, who flaunts the money he won and aggressively asks if the newbie just won. Surrounding the guy with his goons, the suit yells, demanding to know what's with all his arrogance. Furious that his own lackey lost money, he promises to teach the punk a good lesson right then and there. With a sudden violent move, the guy grabs Nian's wrist with great force, trying to physically intimidate him. Taking advantage of the lunge, the protagonist grabs the attacker's arm and violently throws him onto the metal floor in a perfect move. Standing over the fallen brute, he coldly remembers that in his past life, he had to practice a lot of fighting to deal with his enemies. Completely baffled by the scene, the mage friend can't believe the sudden strength of his always peaceful partner. The goons back away, scared by the show of force, and decide it's best not to provoke this guy at all. Getting up with difficulty, Wei Kai finally realizes that this kid is completely different from the weak person he used to be. The suit points a finger, accusing the protagonist of having just brutally beaten his subordinate in the arenas. Relaxed and with his arms crossed, Nian confirms he played a little round, but sarcastically adds that the lackey was a bit too weak. Challenging the gang leader directly, he asks if the suit is interested in playing too, as long as the stakes are high. The berserker loses his mind at the taunt and questions if a level 2 really thinks he can humiliate a level 3 like that. With unshakable calm, the guy holds up 3 fingers and proposes they bet the exact amount of 3,000 coins on this single match. The adversary accepts the challenge instantly, completely doubting that an inferior newbie could turn the tables on him. Desperate, Tang Yao grabs his friend by the shoulders, asking if he's lost his mind and if he even has that much cash. The thief calmly asks his partner to lend him the amount, promising to risk his own life to humor the gentleman. With the deal sealed, the system announces the start of the match, transferring both fighters to the combat arena. The virtual scenery materializes quickly, revealing an expansive green plain under a clear sky with a few birds. Watching from the outside, the mage laments the map choice, stating that an open field is the worst nightmare for someone who needs to hide. With his giant sword in hand, the opponent scoffs, offering to change the terrain if the newbie finds the situation too unfair. The protagonist immediately refuses the offer and activates his camouflage, stating that this pasture is excellent. In a matter of seconds, the guy's body dissolves into the air, and he completely disappears in the middle of the vast plain, alone in the open field. The berserker tries to pinpoint the exact position of the hidden enemy. Focusing on the low vegetation, he concludes that the tufts of grass will expose the target's footprints and decides to use the environment to his advantage. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind sweeps across the plain, making all the grass sway intensely from side to side. The natural phenomenon catches the warrior off guard, and he realizes with frustration that he's just lost the enemy's trail on the ground. Fearing a surprise attack, he spins his heavy sword in all directions, cutting the grass around him in a blind attempt at defense. After a brief pause, the man admits with astonishment that he's never seen a player use stealth so masterfully on terrain like this. The wind suddenly stops, leaving the environment dangerously silent and forcing the adversary to go completely on the defensive. Gripping his weapon tightly, he deduces that the kid must be moving very slowly in front of him to avoid making any mistakes. Soon after, a new violent gust of air crosses the green field, creating a deafening noise in the area. Taking advantage of the perfect cover, the thief appears out of nowhere behind the enemy and lands a devastating slashing blow. The brutal impact sends the brute flying forward, who yells in pain while wondering how the kid managed to flank him so quickly. Spinning his body to counter-attack, Wei Kai unleashes his whirlwind slash ability, sweeping the field with magic. The marksman slides across the ground, dodging the blade, knowing that the animation of that heavy attack will leave the enemy exposed for a second. Confident in a lethal hit, the suit celebrates his imminent victory, counting on the absolute power of his magic attack. However, his colossal sword only smashes into the empty dirt, kicking up dust and proving the blow failed miserably. Wasting no time, the protagonist dashes through the messy grass, taking advantage of the perfect opening in the enemy's defense. The dagger glows brightly as it cuts through the air, and he sinks a merciless vital strike straight into the warrior's unprotected chest. Watching it all on the big screens, the mage friend and the other guys are absolutely stunned by the flawless genius of that attack. Annoyed by the perfect dodge, Wei Kai swings his heavy sword toward his adversary. Soon after, the warrior prepares a powerful blow and invokes his flaming slash ability. A blade of fire descends with full force as the big guy tells the newbie to go straight to his grave. Desperate in the stands, Tang Yao screams at the top of his lungs for his friend to dodge that deadly attack. But the protagonist deduces that the enemy just wants to force a retreat and trusts his advantage in close quarters combat. Charging into the flames, the thief ignores the damage and quickly closes the distance. The suit is outraged by the kid's audacity to take his magic head on. Without missing a beat, the brute follows up with a new, brutal charge attack with his red sword. A huge arc of energy tears through the scenery, seeking to split the target in two. Watching the blow, Tang Yao panics while the lackey Shifeng guarantees the newbie is done for because of the stun. To everyone's surprise, the warrior is shocked to realize the target dodged such a fast attack at point-blank range. Wielding his dagger, Ni Yan knows his own weapon's reach is longer than the enemy's charge. Seizing the perfect opening, the marksman dashes forward like a flash and sinks his blade into his opponent. The critical hit explodes, spreading light across the entire battlefield. Completely defeated, Wei Kai watches his health bar hit zero and collapses on the ground. Landing safely, the winner acknowledges he took a little damage, but the luck of attacking first secured his victory. The system panel confirms the match's success as the kid's gaze overflows with pure confidence. In the stands, the shock is absolute, and everyone can hardly believe that a level 2 crushed their level 3 leader. Back outside the simulation, the suit removes his helmet, still processing his own impossible defeat. Tang Yao runs over, amazed, to praise his friend, while the lackey tries to downplay it, saying it was pure luck. Grabbing his partner, the blonde begs to learn how to play properly and gets a promise of complete training. When the loser gets up with his head down, the mage immediately taunts him, asking if he's going to bail on the bet. Surprising everyone, the warrior accepts the loss with honor and even invites the duo for a drink at his bar sometime. With no more trouble, the group leader says goodbye and leaves with his goons. In the hallways, the lackey doesn't understand such kindness, but the boss explains it's better not to make an enemy of such a talent. In the arena, Tang Yao says he'll pay for snacks to celebrate, and they agree to meet in the game that night. A few hours pass, and a serene night takes over the city. Focused on getting strong in real life, the guy does an intense routine of sit-ups and push-ups in his room, sweating heavily. He praises the vitality of youth and decides it's time to meet up with the mage's team. The helmet is activated again, and the player dives headfirst into the virtual world. The scenery forms, and the marksman reappears in the fantasy world, perfectly prepared. A friend request from Tang Yao pops up on the screen, followed by a payment notification of 1 silver coin for the dungeon guide. Planning to bring his friend on the raid, he decides to hold off on selling more guides to make a bigger profit later. With business on his mind, the newbie walks through the village, determined to turn in his hidden quest first. Finding the local healer, he hands over the fine silks he got while hunting with his partner earlier. Soon, his excited blonde partner arrives and is told they're going to hunt the king of the forest today. The duo heads together toward the central plaza where the team is waiting. Waving from a distance, Cha-Cha calls out to the protagonist while accompanied by a blonde knight named Yulan. Totally stoked about the girls, Tang Yao whispers, wanting to know when his friend found such pretty company. The mage explains that she worked her butt off to convince the blonde leader, and asks the thief not to mess up in front of them. In the back of the group, a guy in a bandana named Chen Bo clicks his tongue with pure disdain. Yulan politely greets the guest, mentally observing that his calm demeanor really does seem like that of an expert. Without beating around the bush, the guy guarantees 100% success in the dungeon. As long as he's the captain and everyone obeys him blindly, the mood immediately tenses up, and the other guild members exchange suspicious glances. Outraged, the guy in the bandana steps forward, demanding to know why they should follow a stranger who could get them all wiped out. The leader immediately scolds her subordinate, reminding him that this was the deal made before he arrived. Then, the knight apologizes for the rudeness and says she'll put everyone under the newbie's command. Very seriously, the protagonist warns that anyone who causes trouble or acts in bad faith will suffer cruel consequences. The system starts beeping, confirming the entry of several members into the newly created party. Backing up the decision, the blonde threatens to permanently kick out anyone who tries to disrupt the new boss's strategy. Even though he's against it, the grumpy member accepts the invite, crossing his arms in a bad mood. Trying to smooth things over, Nian reminds them they're on the same side and promises to pay 10 silver coins out of his own pocket if the team wipes. The absurd amount leaves the girls completely shocked by the solo player's blind confidence. The other members whisper about his audacity, while the leader confirms her friend was right about the guy's talent. Taking on the commander's posture, the marksman tells everyone to report their stats, starting with the shield bearers. The main tank introduces himself, stating he has 61 defense and 230 health points. Soon, the other warriors and mages begin to relay their base damage for raid planning. Analyzing the pieces, the leader tells one warrior to buy a speed potion and another colleague to get a strength spell. The order causes general astonishment, as these items cost dozens of coins and aren't worth the dungeon's profit. Chen Bo gives a mocking smile, silently concluding that the punk is a fraud and will sink them all. Sticking up for his friend, Tang Yao taunts them, asking if they're so poor they need a loan. The guy in the bandana loses his composure and curses at the blonde, calling him a wretch. Cha-Che intervenes, asking if the normal difficulty really requires such expenses, but the protagonist reveals they're doing the expert level. With the decision made, the blonde knight orders the guild to swallow their pride and buy everything that was requested, fully stocked. The huge team marches together out of the city's great gates. Before the gloomy portal, the system notifies them of their official entry into the dangerous Trent Forest on expert mode. Panic grips the newbies, who start shouting, thinking the captain accidentally selected the wrong level. Assessing the situation, the leader is stunned, realizing it wasn't a mistake, and that he planned this suicide mission from the start. Completely freaking out, Chen Bo accuses the marksman of wanting to get everyone taken out on purpose to steal their experience. Totally cold, the commander points a finger and tells the lackey to leave the group if he has a problem with it. The pink-haired mage steps in front of her friend and gives an ultimatum, forbidding the troublemaker from continuing to disrespect the captain. The complainer backs down a bit, nervously saying he has nothing against her in this whole mess. But behind the girl's back, he shoots a look of pure hatred at the meddling newbie. Ignoring the tantrum, the protagonist explains that this level just requires a little more care and promises to guide everyone through the boss's patterns. Staring at the kid, the knight mentally questions where he gets so much courage to trivialize such a deadly dungeon. The pink-haired mage worriedly asks if he's really sure about what he's doing, but the guy tells her to relax, guaranteeing there won't be any problems here. With a smirk, Chen Bo thinks to himself that he can't wait to see how the punk will guide the team through this absurd difficulty. The huge group enters the dense, dark forest with very careful steps. Soon, the captain warns that they've entered the enemy's range and orders everyone to immediately spread out to the sides to avoid casualties. Just then, an immense root tentacle erupts from the ground, catching one of the shield bearers by surprise. The thick vine brutally wraps around the lackey's body. A huge, monstrous trant emerges from the shadows, attacking the entire team with its sharp branches. Being crushed by the vines, the guy in the bandana panics and desperately begs the leader to save him. The monster pulls the helpless victim into the air as the coward continues to scream for help. Maintaining his cool amidst the chaos, the protagonist tells his friend to attack the right and orders the warriors to form a barrier while the mages unleash everything. Immediately, the team's tank charges forward and raises his huge shield, blocking the wooden whip. With the violent impact, the defenders hold firm against the creature's furious assault. Taking advantage of the vanguard's perfect defense, a true shower of colorful spells hits the monster head-on. The magical explosion destroys the target, reducing its health bar to 0 in the blink of an eye. Without the support of the dead roots, the troublemaker plummets painfully toward the rocky ground. Lying on the ground, the guy accuses the leader of seeing the danger beforehand and deliberately hiding the information, just to mess with him. Out of patience, the marksman explains that even the tank managed to dodge the lunge and questions what kind of thief can't avoid such a slow attack. Taking his partner's side, the blonde scoffs, telling the trash to stop blaming others for his own incompetence. The knight leader cuts off the argument, ordering the lackey to stop embarrassing himself, which makes him furious that she isn't defending him. Cutting the conversation short, the captain says the path is full of traps and decides to take the lead since his companion is useless for the job. A frigid wind blows hard through the dense woods, signaling the hidden danger in the green scenery. The newbie picks up the pace, guiding the guild through the forest's winding shortcuts. As he passes a fallen log, he intentionally triggers one of the mechanisms hidden in the dirt. Deadly ice spikes shoot out from the shadows, swiftly cutting through the air right beside him. With absurd reflexes, the kid slides unscathed through a sequence of explosive electric beams that appear out of nowhere. A web of magical light blocks the trail in the blink of an eye, closing the trap. Moving like a shadow, he shatters the luminous barrier with just one precise strike of his dark blade. Looking back with contempt, the marksman confesses he's never seen a stealth player be so pathetic and amateurish. Foaming with rage, the lackey shouts, accusing the captain of setting the trap on purpose since he passed through unharmed before. The mage retorts, calling the coward ungrateful and reminding him that if his friend hadn't disarmed the path, the entire team would be done for. The protagonist argues that there's no way to walk safely in a place like this, and declares that the failure isn't worthy of the class he chose. Completely losing control, the kid in the bandana draws his sword, cursing the leader and demanding a direct duel to prove who's boss. In a blind rage, he charges at the guy, promising to end his life in a single blow. Coldly raising just one hand, the thief ironically asks if the trash really thinks he has the guts to propose a fair duel. The leader's icy, intimidating posture makes the troublemaker back down and freeze with fear on the spot. Ignoring the silly squabble, the guy points to the thicket filled with glowing eyes, warning that he's mapped out 18 monsters blocking the road. The blonde knight says that facing this entire horde is a suicide mission, but he reassures her, guaranteeing he won't attack them all at once. With the plan already laid out in his mind, the guy takes the lead of the group, taking the first step toward the enemy lair. He dashes toward the horde, leaving his allies completely confused about what crazy strategy he has this time. Using his absurd agility, the adventurer smashes a blinding item on the ground to initiate the perfect ambush. Pulling out his repeating crossbow in midair, he promises to show the newbie bunch how a divine master pulls aggro. The marksman spins his body, firing several metallic arrows at a frantic pace toward the sleeping targets. The bolts cut through the forest's darkness, traveling in multiple different directions to hit specific points. Terrified by the tactic, the guild members think the captain has lost his mind and is going to get everyone wiped out by waking up the horde. Landing firmly on the ground, the protagonist just ignores the panic and shouts the exact coordinates for his mage friend to create a blockade on the terrain. The darts simultaneously sink into the trunks of 3 specific monsters, isolating only them from the rest of the giant horde. The leader is dazzled by the miraculous technique, confessing that firing in different directions to pull aggro was just a legend to her. The girls talk, impressed that he managed to attack creatures so close to each other without triggering the entire map's fury. Observing the genius of the move, the pink-haired mage realizes with amazement that her partner found an angle that not even veterans can find. Furious at the surprise attacks, the enormous cursed tree charges swiftly toward the guild's front line. The captain directs the exact block and guarantees that if the shield bearers hold their ground, the creature will be harmless, ordering a full focus on damage. Without a second's hesitation, the blonde mage summons his energy and bombards the monster from a distance with a massive beam. The thunderous impact of the tree hits the vanguard's heavy shield directly, and they hold firm against the blow. Rushing to help her ally, the knight charges with her spear in hand, telling her partners to hold on until she gets there. With an acrobatic leap, the warrior delivers a brilliant piercing blow full of lethal magic. The wooden creature loses its last drop of health after the joint massacre and begins to crumble in front of the team. The gigantic body turns to dust on the forest floor, leaving a beam of light that reveals a very valuable item dropped from the loot. The guild is in shock to see that bronze gloves for mages dropped from the very first kills, proving the rewards here are absurd. The pink-haired partner praises the guy's perfect coordination, who just smiles, remembering he promised to guide them to success on expert mode. Completely in control of the situation, he turns to the group and declares they'll repeat this same safe pattern to exterminate the rest of the horde without risk. 20 long minutes of strategic hunting pass, and the focused team gradually clears the forest. The protagonist finishes off the last cursed monster with a lethal blow from behind, securing the entire area. Resting on the ground after the fight, the group celebrates in awe at the mountain of rare equipment they've earned together in such a short time, but the calm is interrupted when they notice a lone figure resting atop a dark log. It's the old Trent Shepherd, a super important character known as the peaceful guardian of the entire jungle. According to the game's immersive lore, the living trees and humans always coexisted peacefully under the kind supervision of that elderly man. However, this harmony was brutally shattered when dark traces of evil cultists began to pollute the magical land. Overcome by this terrible, uncontrollable force, the Trents went mad and began a merciless massacre against any human in the region. The Council of Sages had to declare an official crusade against the Trent King to stop the plague, marking the beginning of this dangerous dungeon story. Frightened by the presence of the armed group, the old man tells everyone to run, warning that the night will make the monsters absurdly more lethal. But the captain approaches with great respect and reveals they came precisely to exterminate the creatures and seek justice for the losses. Furious at the smooth talk, the man shouts that the real culprits who deserve what's coming to them are the scumbags who secretly stole his sacred flute. Shocked by the dense dialogue, the girls wonder with their mouths agape how the kid knew how to trigger such a secret quest in such an isolated place. On the other side of the team, the guy in the bandana swallows hard, completely frustrated and dying of envy at the newbie player's brilliant success. Knowing the final boss would be invincible without this blessing, the marksman supports the guardian and offers to purify the beasts and retrieve the artifact. The old man explains that the adventurers were very helpful in spotting the hidden enemies. He hands over revealing powder and tells the group to retrieve the flute to defeat the out of control Trent King. The system confirms the receipt of 3 special revealing potions that last for exactly 20 seconds. The captain crushes the item on a rock and orders everyone to follow him quickly. The magical powder spreads across the rocky ground, activating its effect immediately. Using a long vine, the marksman skillfully descends the illuminated rock wall. The entire team follows the leader down the steep mountain trail. Curious, the pink-haired mage asks if he managed to find the elves the villager mentioned. The protagonist confirms with great confidence as they all walk across the stone bridge under the full moon. Pointing to the rocks, he says they're going to corner the pair of thieves right in that spot. But his partner is confused, not understanding how he knows the target's exact position in the darkness. The guy calmly explains that the 2 cowards have been following the team since the beginning of the mission. Shocked by the information, the girl looks back, quite scared by the pursuit. The marksman notices the enemy movement and warns that the targets have just arrived. Knowing the agility of the dark elves, he declares they need to end the fight in a single, devastating attack. The team advances stealthily through the dark corridors of the huge stone cavern. Confirming the enemies took the bait, the thief readies his glowing dagger for combat. The 2 dark elves materialize at the back of the cavern, falling right into the trap. Roaring with hatred, the shadowy creatures go on the offensive without a second thought. The team's tank blocks the passage with a laugh, asking where they think they're going. The beast tries to charge forward, letting out a threatening roar at the armored brute. The shield bearer holds against the heavy charge, while the blonde mage prepares his magic right behind. With his hands glowing intensely, Tang Yao concentrates his pure arcane energy. A huge fireball cuts through the air and hits one of the dark elves dead on. Seeing the perfect opening, the blonde knight charges with everything she's got, telling the rest of the team to help with the kill. The rear guard promptly obeys and calls to finish off the monsters once and for all. The elves try to retaliate with their claws, but the thief appears out of nowhere in the middle of all the chaos. With a lethal move, the marksman unleashes his special attack, tearing through the creature's chest with his dagger. The devastating critical hit takes out 50 health points from the enemy instantly. Taking advantage of the blow's impact, he reaches out and snatches the stolen flute back. Holding the valuable item, the captain celebrates the absolute success of the ambush. The panel reveals that Aimpat's flute reduces the stats of wooden creatures by 50%. The pink-haired mage approaches, saying she found something else very interesting lying there. She hands a mysterious, aged paper to the protagonist. The system announces that the letter has triggered a side story about an enemy tribe's counter-attack. Analyzing the document closely, Nian jokes that he can't read anything, because it's written in Elvish. The shield bearer and another companion laugh, impressed by the completely unexpected surprise. Walking along the trail, the leader hands over the flute, announcing that the tank will be responsible for using it. The group continues on as the warrior dons his armor, trusting his extra health against the Lord. Watching the friendly scene, the blonde partner praises how quickly the group's attitude toward the newbie changed. From behind, the captain moves forward, leading the way through the dark woods with total calm. Later, a huge wooden beast is hit by brutal ice spikes in the middle of the forest. The blonde knight charges furiously and cuts the monster in half with her magic spear. The creature turns to dust, crumbling lifelessly on the dungeon's dusty floor. The system reveals a brand new bronze round shield that increases defense by an incredible 30%. The captain hands the equipment to the tank, asking only for the quest gems in exchange for all that loot. Satisfied with the quick deal, he knows that selling the other pieces will bring in good money anyway. The pink-haired mage thanks the leader for his kindness and apologizes for him taking a loss on this split. Suddenly, the earth shakes violently as colossal roots burst through the stone floor, destroying everything. The thief nimbly retreats, telling everyone to pay close attention and form a heavy defensive formation. The fearsome level 4 Trent King emerges from the depths, radiating an intense, terrifying green aura. The cursed creature glares at the human invaders, promising to drag them straight to the bottom of heck. Completely enraged, the wooden monster prepares a gigantic crushing blow against the ground. The leader leaps back, narrowly escaping the devastating physical impact. Seeing the beast's fury, the knight is shocked, having never faced such a powerful lord before. The marksman yells for the tank to take the front line and absorb the damage immediately to save the team. The shield bearer charges forward, raising his new bronze shield to block the brutal assault. Analyzing the main target's absurd defense, the protagonist senses the danger and tells the mages to attack. Several colorful spells cut through the air in a lethal, coordinated volley against the large enemy. The heavy magic shower hits the monster's chest dead on, causing a large, brilliant impact. The magical explosion raises a dense smoke, dealing multiple hits to the king's extensive health bar. Thick dust fills the battlefield right after the fiery impact, but the monster bravely resists and charges forward, landing a violent blow against the front line. The tank feels the hit, losing 78 health points as the leader tells him to use the flute. The warrior immediately plays the magical instrument, releasing a gentle melody into the air. The spell weakens the creature on the spot, completely destroying all of the giant's bonus stats. The marksman notices the immediate advantage and orders the mages to focus only on strong fire attacks. The blonde friend agrees excitedly and concentrates the flames in his hands, assuring them that this is his strong suit. As the battle rages, Nian approaches the young priestess, asking if she has the purification spell. The girl confirms, gripping her staff firmly, and he warns her about the boss's fearsome fear ability. Noticing her tension, the guy tells her to stay calm and promises to give the exact signal for when to use the healing spell. The Trent King lets out a demonic roar, emanating a terrifying energy throughout the entire combat area. The tank is hit head-on by the enemy's fury, and the protagonist shouts for the healer to act fast. The priestess raises her luminous staff, immediately casting the ability to dispel curses. The shield bearer is enveloped in a divine, healing light, and the girl smiles, relieved that the plan worked. The wooden beast doesn't give up and launches a furious assault against the team as they try to back away. The monster lets out a deafening roar as its health bar drops to the 2000 range. Focused on the pattern change, Nian tells everyone to prepare for the boss's berserk phase. The leader, Yulan, is startled, realizing the enemy has indeed entered enraged mode, just as the captain predicted. At that, the marksman tells the vanguard to switch to a defensive stance while he dodges the sharp roots. He also orders the priests to drink their mana potions and to not stop casting healing spells for anything. The rear guard promptly obeys, concentrating all their magical energy to keep the team alive in the confrontation. The tank takes the crushing impact of the vines, using his new shield to avoid being thrown back. Sweating from the pressure, the shield bearer realizes the damage is absurd and warns that he can't hold out for much longer. Fortunately, recovery spells hit the warrior, instantly restoring a large portion of his lost health. With renewed energy, the tank manages to stabilize his posture and block the next lethal impact without falling. He admits he would have been a goner if not for the precise support and the flute's weakening effect. Chugging a health vial, the guy finally understands why the leader made them spend money on potions. Completely out of control, the enormous wooden monster prepares one of its fastest and most devastating attacks. A gigantic pillar of roots crashes down violently against the ground, kicking up a lot of dust in the area. Dodging the debris, the captain shouts for everyone to concentrate their fire and finish off the beast, which is already nearly down. Yulan charges forward, wielding her spear, and unleashes her best luminous abilities all at once to help with the damage. The coordinated magic attacks cut through the air and destroy the massive cursed creature's defensive branches. Seizing the perfect opening, the protagonist dashes forward at high speed with his dagger ready for the final pounce. The lord stumbles backward, feeling the absurd weight of all the destructive power accumulated by the team. The thief quickly executes his special technique to guarantee a fatal critical hit on the adversary. The blade rips through the monster's exposed trunk, generating a green light explosion that seals the battle's fate. The colossal body of the Trent King begins to crack, emitting an unstable energy from the inside out. Unable to withstand the critical blow, the creature shatters into thousands of pieces of wood flying through the air. The dust settles in the center of the map as the guild members wonder, mouths agape, if they really beat the challenge. Cha-Cha celebrates with relief, while another ally can't believe they survived such a deadly dungeon. The tank agrees, assuring them they never would have withstood the attacks if not for the commander's precise orders. A golden glow envelopes several players on the team, and they cheer with joy, announcing they've just leveled up. Ignoring the party, Neon walks straight to the luminous arrow left by the defeated boss's body. Holding a sparkling gem, he reflects that all this exhausting work was worth it, just to get this one small item. The system details that the coveted artifact reduces the user's weight, allowing for falls as gentle as a feather. The protagonist's body also glows intensely, confirming his massive experience gained from the match. He clenches his fists, proud to have reached level 3, as the system announces the team's victory with a very high bonus. The guild members are amazed to receive over 1,000 glory points in a single run. Upholding the initial agreement, the captain allows them to divide the rest of the items and announces that the next step is to head back to the city. Yulan agrees, remembering the rewards from the side quest, and deeply thanks him for his invaluable help on the journey. The large group steps into the glowing teleportation portal to return safely to the central plaza. A bright light illuminates the bustling stone streets, marking the triumphant arrival of the entire team. The players around are shocked, commenting on how it's possible for all those newbies to have leveled up together. Walking further behind, Chenbo grinds his teeth, swearing he'll never forget the humiliation he suffered in the forest. Paying no mind to the lackey's envy, the captain guides his allies to the great gates of Carol's military barracks. The Empire's warlord greets them in the sunny courtyard, asking what the young adventurers have come to report. The protagonist hands over the documents, informing him that they've eliminated the Dark Elves and uncovered plans about the enemy fortress. The experienced military commander is visibly impressed by the detailed report of the threats lurking in the region. Thanking them for their great service, the man rewards the players' group with silver coins, experience, and a skill book. Satisfied with the results of the turn-ins, Niyan is excited to have secured extra strength points from that secret mission. The leader, Yulan, approaches, asking about his next steps now that their initial partnership is over. Being honest, he plans to hunt monsters to level up and use his new gem to try and take on an isolated elite beast. The knight says her goodbyes, promising to send the payment by mail as soon as she sells all the stock the group earned. As soon as they leave, Tang Yo runs up, begging for magic lessons, and the marksman agrees to help after they stop by a shop. The duo walks quickly through the commercial streets to the local blacksmith to spend the money from their recent victories. The protagonist puts on his new, complete set of bronze, level leather and finds the extra stats excellent. Fully equipped for danger, he tells his mage partner that the practical lessons will begin on the way to the Rhine Hills. The new region proves to be extremely dark, with lightning cutting across the skies above enormous, sharp stone peaks. Standing at the entrance of a dark cave, the thief challenges his colleague to farm bat teeth alone for 1 hour. Not backing down from the test, the partner charges swiftly into the infested area to prove his combat talent. A huge winged monster emerges from the shadows, snarling aggressively toward the intruder. Tang Yao unleashes a barrage of flaming spells, annihilating the flying creature with great force. Thrilled with his own direct hit, the guy celebrates his first victory, showing off his precision to his master. Seeing his companion's energy, the marksman pulls out his weapon, declaring that he's not just going to stand around watching either. The protagonist shoots forward like a swift shadow, cutting through the icy air of the stone tunnels with absolute mastery. The dagger tears through the winged monsters in the air, ending the fight in a sequence of flawless and lethal acrobatics. Stashing the collected materials in his backpack, he realizes half an hour has passed and gets curious about his ally's farming progress. Suddenly, his colleague comes running in a panic, yelling for help as he's being chased by local player killers. The thief furrows his brow, processing the information, and quickly deduces which cursed guild those criminals belong to. Dashing right past his desperate friend, the guy tells him to hide immediately in the safety of the deep, rocky tunnel. Huddled in the dense shadows, the mage explains that he was ambushed by some lowlifes who steal items while he was trying to hunt a level 3 leader monster. Maintaining a frightening calm, the captain tells his colleague to distract them by walking in circles while he prepares a painful surprise. The adventurer silently moves through the corners of the dark canyon, confirming that the targets have indeed blocked the main exit. Gathered at the stone passage, the enemy leader scoffs, guaranteeing that the kid with no good gear has no way to escape their encirclement. Hidden behind the jagged rocks, the marksman focuses on his offensive, remembering that taking down marked criminals makes them drop their entire inventory. He sizes up the main target, noting with extreme satisfaction that the enemy mage is wearing a coveted set of rare flame gear. Acknowledging that this group is strong enough to corner adventurers, the protagonist activates his camouflage without underestimating anyone. The activation of the stealth spell alerts one of the opposing group's members, who warns his own boss about the invisible danger approaching. Ignoring their short reaction time, Nian charges fiercely like a lethal shadow straight toward the clustered killers. The protagonist advances like a phantom toward the target, who readies his staff, boasting that he's been waiting for him for a long time. Confident in his own power, the mage questions if the kid has enough health to steal his items and conjures a violent ring of flames. Just then, one of the gang's warriors spots the intruder's movement and yells for his allies to take the punk down. Sizing up the situation, the thief concludes that the sorcerer knows how to keep his distance and activates a speed scroll. The system notifies him of the enemy attack and confirms that self-defense mode will be active for 30 minutes. With his speed boosted, the guy ignores the flames and charges head-on, tearing through the ring of fire. The mage panics when he sees the madman approaching even while taking damage and can't understand how he's so fast. Seizing the opening, the marksman executes the assassination skill and lands a solid hit on the leader. Pushed back, the sorcerer reacts immediately, launching a burst of explosive flames to defend himself. The protagonist leaps back, dodging the blow, while the warrior informs his boss that the kid used a scroll. Giving no quarter, the allied swordsman charges, cutting through the air with a brutal fire attack. The blow hits the thief dead on, sending him flying backward and causing considerable damage. To make matters worse, the team's priest joins the fray, cursing the newbie and conjuring a holy light. The luminous magic travels swiftly and hits the guy dead on before he even touches the ground. Staying focused as he falls, Nian calculates that the mage's fire blast takes exactly 5 seconds to cast and decides to act. Dashing forward like a lightning bolt, he interrupts the leader's spell with a sharp rap from the pommel of his dagger. The impact hits the mage in the face, canceling the skill's incantation on the spot. Completely stunned, the sorcerer is dazed by the unexpected blow and loses his footing. Mercilessly, the marksman follows up with a lethal sequence of rapid cuts, tearing into the defenseless enemy's chest. Desperate with pain, the target loses his composure and lets out a terrifying scream of panic. The thief continues his relentless massacre as the sorcerer screams that he's going down and begs his team to stop him. Rushing to help, the warriors are frustrated that they can't keep up with the assassin's absurd speed. Taking the initiative, one of the swordsmen activates his charge ability to try and close the distance. The brute glides swiftly across the stone floor, heading straight for the fight to save his boss. Noticing the dangerous approach, the protagonist leaps to the side, dodging the attack in a very agile move. Still in the air, the punk activates Vital Strike and delivers the final blow, sinking his blade into the red-robed mage. The system immediately announces that taking down a criminal player yields prestige and exclusive discounts in the city's shops. With their boss down, the lackeys panic as they see the equipment drop and yell to recover the loot quickly. Agile as ever, the guy scoops up the glowing items from the ground, celebrating hard for having snagged the jerk's fire set. Furious at the audacious theft, the warrior attacks again, forcing the newbie to block the heavy impact with his blade. The goons don't give up the chase, claiming they can't let him get away, or they'll be in trouble with the gang later. Ignoring the threat, the protagonist flees at high speed, leaving the enemies eating his dust in the dark mountains. Confident in his superior agility, he uses a combat bandage while running, knowing he'll never be caught. The team's priest notices the bold tactic and desperately warns that the target is recovering his health. Seeing his health bar refilled and his skills off cooldown, the guy's gaze turns to pure hatred. Changing his plan, he abruptly stops his escape, screeching to a halt in the middle of the dirt path. Spinning around with blood in his eyes, the marksman coldly announces that now it's their turn to suffer. Surprised by the sudden turnaround, one of the warriors tries to break his charge, kicking up a cloud of dust from the ground. The thief dashes in the opposite direction, shattering the stones with the force of his push-off. Using Vital Strike without hesitation, he hits his adversary dead on, tearing through the air with a strong trail of light. The dark blade spins in the guy's hand, ready for the next target in the pathetic group. Next, he activates Assassination, mercilessly sinking the weapon straight into the back of the other shocked warrior. Trying to survive, the last goon tells the intruder to get lost and fires a red cutting spell from a distance. Passing through the attack unscathed, the thief pulls out his heavy crossbow, aiming it straight at the desperate enemy's chest. A relentless sequence of arrows hits the swordsman repeatedly, chipping away several chunks of his health. The target goes into a total panic, realizing he's almost out of health and terrified of dropping his own equipment too. Taking advantage of the steep terrain, the newbie relentlessly slides down toward the coward, appearing like a ghost. The thief asks menacingly from behind the guy if he really thought he could run. Overcome by absolute fear, the warrior screams, cursing his own luck as he realizes he's reached his limit. A swift, lethal cut slashes across the goon's back, and he collapses, taken out on the moonlit stones. Standing on the empty battlefield, the marksman faces the healer, cynically asking why he's the only coward left standing. The priest is shaking in his boots, desperately explaining that he's just a simple support and can't possibly fight a brutal assassin. Behind the protagonist, a monstrous spiritual aura forms, displaying the guy's dark thirst for blood. With a sadistic smile, he remarks ironically that the guy seemed to be having a lot of fun when he fired that holy light earlier. Soon, the healer's pure agony echoes alone through the sinister darkness of the rocky canyon. The support's useless staff falls to the ground, confirming that the last member of the troublemaking group has also been annihilated. Rummaging through his inventory, Nyan analyzes the pieces of red leather that grants several excellent bonuses to damage and magic defense. Pleased with the profit, he deduces that the bronze armor is perfect for his blonde friend and decides to sell the rest of the loot later. Over the system's radio, his scared partner relays his exact coordinates, saying he's trapped in the monster-filled cave. To cheer his colleague up, the protagonist sends images of the luxurious armor, proving that crime finally paid off. Recognizing the insane items, Tang Yao is shocked to see the coveted fire set and asks where his friend got all that. The guy is thrilled to confirm that his partner massacred a dangerous player and confesses he never doubted the plan. Laughing out loud with joy, the blonde says the revenge was so satisfying that he doesn't even care anymore if he goes down in that isolated hole today. On the other side of the mountains, the thief calmly stows the equipment after the long and dangerous night combat. Staring at the chilly horizon, the guy tells his friend over the radio to hang on just a little longer, because he's going to hunt down the rest of the loose gang members. Further down in the dark forest, a large group of members from the same guild receives the tragic news that their boss has just gone down. One of the newbie warriors is in disbelief, stating that the leader had a high level and magic too powerful to be defeated so easily. The squad immediately questions if the valuable equipment dropped and starts to suspect a rival guild has declared all-out war on them. However, the informant says that the entire massacre of the leader and his 3 goons was caused by a single, lone thief. Shocked and breaking into a cold sweat, a guy in a bandana can't believe their invincible boss was crushed by a level 3 newbie. Having a meltdown, he tears at his hair, screaming in despair and asking if the game world has gone completely insane for something like this to happen. The grim commander of that squad confirms the humiliating story and reveals that the cursed assassin's name is Nirvana Flame. Knowing the target's extreme danger, the captain says they've put a large bounty on the marksman's head with cautious orders. Perfectly hidden among the trees, Nian overhears everything and finds it interesting that the scumbags are offering 5 coins for his head. Activating his stealth magic, the protagonist calls the group idiots and swears he'll show them the true fury of a solo thief. Lying in wait in the forest, one of the guild members hears a strange noise and immediately suspects it might be the thief. However, what bursts through the bushes is a gigantic horned stag leader. The guy in the red bandana declares that since they can't find their targets, they might as well take down this leader monster first. Hidden in the shadows, Nian cracks a sadistic smile, realizing his golden opportunity has finally arrived. The squad advances on the beast, and their leader tells them to finish it quickly so they can split the profit. With his shield in hand, the warrior in the bandana braces for impact. Holding back the stag's heavy charge, he desperately yells for the team to attack now. Taking advantage of the containment, the allied swordsman delivers swift cuts to the monster's flank. The creature suffers multiple critical hits and starts losing a lot of health under the coordinated attack. Further back, the team's mages confidently guarantee they'll annihilate the beast in under a minute. But they don't notice the protagonist stealthily dropping from the trees right behind them. Without wasting a second, the marksman brutally sinks his dagger into the back of the distracted sorcerer. The target screams in pure agony as his health is instantly drained by the surprise attack. Immediately after, Nian spins his body and slashes the other partner's throat with a clean cut. Terrified by his colleague's swift ends, the last healer pulls out a potion, warning about the ambush. Hearing the desperation from the rear, the guy in the red bandana instantly deduces that the cursed thief has found them. Under pressure, one of the warriors asks what to do, since they're surrounded and the monster is still focused on them. The leader tells the team to focus all their damage on the stag first, and then they'll deal with the assassin. Following the order, one of the brutes leaps with everything he's got, delivering an aerial attack. The giant swords blow tears through the animal's back, causing massive damage. Unable to resist, the creature lets out an agonizing roar before collapsing without life. The 3 surviving fighters breathe heavily beside the boss's carcass. Watching it all from nearby, Nian calmly laments that he arrived a little too late. At that, the 3 enemy warriors back away and assume a tight defensive formation. The protagonist calculates that even with their low health, facing 3 swordsmen at once is too risky. Shaking with rage, the gang's leader reports that the newbie has already taken out 5 of them, and warns that reinforcements are on the way. Looking bored, the thief asks if they don't have the guts for a 3-on-1, threatening to just leave. But the enemy claims he won't fall for the separation trick and guarantees that together, they're completely safe. The guy immediately realizes their courage is just a front to buy time until the cavalry arrives. Uninterested in a drawn-out fight, Nian gives an ironic wave, promising to play with them another time. Seeing the assassin turn his back, one of the warriors desperately warns that the guy is getting away and tells them to stop him. The squad leader is completely frozen, unsure of how to act in this humiliating situation. Confused by the target's speed, the goon asks where the punk disappeared to so quickly. Regaining his senses, the commander bellows with hatred, ordering an immediate pursuit. Staring at the stealth tracks on the green ground, he swears he won't let the creep escape unpunished. However, the newbie is already running at high speed, camouflaged by the shadows of the dense forest. Very confident, the guy knows that no player knows this map better than him and decides to go find his blonde friend. In another part of the region, Tang Yao walks apprehensively through the rocky surroundings of a dark cave. The protagonist appears out of nowhere, deactivating his camouflage and startling his partner, who doesn't understand how he got there. Nian explains that the enemies will never look for them in this spider lair, and tells his friend to equip the stolen armor. The partner celebrates hard that the criminal leader dropped the item and marvels at the rare piece in his hands. Already wearing the imposing fire set, Tang Yao is shocked by the brutal boost to his own magic damage. The thief tells his companion to follow him deeper into the cave, confident that they now have enough power for the challenge. Running through the dark tunnels, the mage asks what the plan is, and the marksman reveals the silver chest hidden in the area. Reaching the intersection, the protagonist pulls out his tool and begins the delicate process of picking the lock. A rock spider tries to attack from behind, but Tang Yao reacts quickly, focusing on the bug. With his hands glowing intensely, the mage invokes the supreme power of his arcane flame. A gigantic fiery blast tears through the cave's darkness toward the target. The spell hits the monster dead, on dealing massive critical damage and eliminating the threat in a single hit. Staring at his own hands, the blonde partner is astonished by the lethal power of his new magic suit. Further ahead, the protagonist sinks his dagger into another spider's skull using his assassination skill. Thrilled with his own strength, the companion runs toward his friend, providing support. The duo clears the hallway with ease, and Nian praises the fact that his partner can handle high-level beasts without a problem. Keeping up the fast pace, the captain tells his ally to pick up the speed through the rocky tunnels. A shower of fireballs illuminates the cave as Tang Yao decimates the remaining enemies along the way. Finally reaching the central area, they spot the untouched, glowing chest shining at the back of the pit. The sorcerer is amazed by the reward, questioning what kind of divine treasure could be hidden inside. Being realistic, the marksman explains that this game was designed with a very cruel difficulty level. He details that to open such grand rewards, the hidden guardians are always a nightmare. Confirming his theory, a colossal and terrifying rock spider leader suddenly appears, snarling at the intruders. Tang Yao's eyes widen in pure desperation as he recognizes the fearsome boss of this map. The sorcerer asks how they're going to deal with a lord, but the thief calmly states that they're simply going to take it down. The newbie dashes forward and tells his friend to keep a 20-meter distance and head for the narrowest tunnel. Understanding that the strategy is to avoid pulling more monsters, the blonde runs to the designated position immediately. Reaching a safe distance, the mage quickly turns and prepares his powerful arcane fireball. The flaming attack explodes right in the boss monster's face, dealing excellent damage. Watching the hit, Nian gives a confident smile, confirming that its weakness to fire guarantees them the victory. The protagonist says he'll handle crowd control while his friend's job is to focus entirely on damaging the creature. Charging forward quickly, the thief lands a precise blow that stuns the monster and deals some good initial damage. He yells for his partner to take advantage of the perfect opening, while the beast tries to recover from the impact. Without hesitation, the mage launches his arcane fireball, which explodes right on target. The marksman quickly warns that the monster has woken up, and that the danger is now real. The enormous spider leaps furiously, trying to crush the guy with its full weight. With quick reflexes, he dodges the crushing attack but still takes considerable damage from the impact on the ground. Using a bandage to heal, the guy notices the beast has gone berserk and tells his friend to retreat without stopping to avoid the spikes. Tang Yao nervously agrees, seeing the creature's relentless fury. Just then, a large rock pillar erupts from the ground, and the sorcerer gives a relieved thank you for the warning that saved his life. The thief reinforces that their success depends entirely on his partner's attack power and goes back to distracting the beast. Quickly chugging a vial, the mage asks for a moment to recover his magical energy. With his bar full again, the guy concentrates his flaming spell, promising to annihilate the monster. An intense explosion of flames engulfs the giant spider, illuminating the entire dark cave. Seizing the perfect opening, the protagonist finishes the job by sinking a brutal vital strike into the enemy. The sharp blade pierces the creature, dealing absurd critical damage that seals the end of the fight. Seeing the monster fall lifelessly, the mage asks out of breath if the nightmare is finally over. Collapsing to the ground from sheer exhaustion, he celebrates that they took down such a strong boss and jokes that he never thought he was this talented. A bright light envelops the marksman's body, confirming he's just leveled up after the big kill. The loot dropped by the creature reveals powerful magic skill books and a rare silver key. The protagonist hands over one of the books, stating his friend hit the jackpot by getting an unbeatable area of effect spell for farming experience. The guy is amazed by the news. Even after hearing the spell still loses to the game's holy or draconic classes. Curious about the unfamiliar terms, he asks what they are, but his partner just brushes it off, saying the future will tell. Changing the subject, the guy focuses on the dark hole in the cave, announcing it's time to get the real treasure. He approaches the ornate silver chest and inserts the rare key straight into the heavy lock. The mechanism unlocks, emitting a strong magical glow as the duo eagerly awaits their reward. The system announces the use of the key, and the thief is completely surprised when he sees the gleaming item. The loot is a special web ring that works as a perfect tool for climbing and vaulting over large obstacles on the map. Finding the jewel rather plain, the mage doesn't understand the absurd excitement, but is told it's practically a legendary item for a mobility-focused class. The marksman then asks if his partner has learned the new spell yet, and the blonde confirms immediately, wondering why he's asking. A gigantic horde of smaller spiders emerges from the tunnels, and the captain declares it's the perfect time to test out the new power. He says he'll draw the beast's aggro and tells the sorcerer to start casting immediately. The monsters come crawling furiously out of the rocks toward the two intruders. Frightened by the number of targets, Tang Yo breaks into a cold sweat, complaining about the absurdly long cast time of the spell. Finally, with the magic ready, he raises his arms, unleashing the true destructive power of the flames. A colossal pillar of fire engulfs the entire corridor, turning the whole horde to ash in the blink of an eye. Retreating with an agile leap to escape the heat, the thief praises their excellent teamwork. The mage himself is amazed, looking at the destruction, unable to believe he cast something so overpowered. Wasting no time, the marksman gets his distracted partner's attention, ordering them to keep moving through the cave. Scratching his head, the completely drained blonde says he's used up all his mana and is out of potions. The protagonist laments the mistake, remembering the spell's high cost, but knows the most important item in the game is hidden right here. Not wanting to get in the way, the mage suggests heading back to a safe zone, and his partner agrees, offering to teach him a few more techniques on the way. The duo leaves the high-risk area, walking calmly under the light rain outside. Once safe, Tang Yao pulls out a town portal scroll and expresses his deep gratitude for escaping the ambush even stronger than before. The thief just gives a slight smile, stating that's what brothers are for. With his friend gone, the guy is alone again under the gloomy, rainy weather of the dark map. Focused on his solo objective, he turns his back to the light and enters the damp cave with firm steps. His memory recalls that deep inside the cave lies a page from the legendary chapter of Order, an item capable of dictating the laws of the continent. Ancient legends guarantee that the player who gathers all the volumes will become the supreme ruler and the great pope of the temples of light. On the other hand, whoever collects the pieces of the chapter of chaos will inherit incalculable destructive power and reign absolute as the demon king. The newbie knows all too well that this is the biggest opportunity the game can offer right at the beginning. He recalls that this ancient history was practically erased after the fall of the empires, leaving only forgotten fragments. Even so, the fragments grant so much power that any lucky adventurer who finds one soon dominates the top of the rankings. In his past life, he witnessed a guild leader summon holy knights to annihilate 100 enemies single-handedly, thanks to this book. Another legendary player called Sage Assassin used the Fragment of Wisdom to conjure gigantic spells, changing the tide of wars. There was also Swift Fox, who used the Volume of Courage to crush enemy troops alone, becoming a true nightmare on the battlefield. Diving into the dark depths, the protagonist feels his blood boil with excitement, knowing the Fragment of Courage awaits him here. Landing lightly, the guy sneaks between the rocks while listening to the distant sound of running water. 3 stone leaders completely block the passage, forcing the thief to activate his stealth to advance safely. Without making a sound, he uses his special pearl and dives straight into the cave's subterranean waters. Swimming through the frigid waters, he searches for a legendary chest that caused a major uproar in his past life because it took so long to be found. Spotting the luxurious object at the bottom, the adventurer is fascinated to confirm it's a gold-tier rarity. The pirate crest carved on the lid indicates an absurd age, making the find even more valuable and promising for the newbie. The compartment opens, releasing an intense red aura as it reveals the fearsome dagger of the assassin's precept. Wielding the new weapon, he deduces from its lethal aura that the trip was already worth it, even if he doesn't find the sacred book. With the loot secured, the thief swims swiftly toward the beam of light marking the exit of the submerged tunnel. Breaking the surface with force, the guy breathes a sigh of relief as he emerges into a mystical scene filled with green vegetation. Walking along the banks, he's amazed by the vibrant and peaceful ecosystem hidden in the heart of this dark map. The adventurer soon locates an ancient circular ruin with an isolated altar glowing in the center of the clearing. As he approaches the stone pedestal, the legendary tome rises into the air, transferring an overwhelming energy into the intruder's body. The system details that the relic tells the story of the Dark Era, written in 3 forgotten languages, and engraves this knowledge into his mind. The guy instantly assimilates several ancient languages and receives the complete index of the Lost Chronicle. Holding the reddish tome, the protagonist reads the absurd passive bonuses that will permanently boost his stats with each advancement. Shocked by the advantage, he finally understands how the Lord from the past managed to massacre hundreds of enemies so effortlessly. Satisfied, the guy puts the fragment away, promising to be extra careful since the item will drop if he's taken down before fusing all 6 volumes. Surveying the area, Nian finds it very strange to get a legendary item without the system sending a powerful guardian to defend it. But the calm is short-lived as the rocky ground suddenly begins to crack violently beneath his feet. It's clear that taking the fragment alerted the boss. And to make matters worse, the water route has been completely blocked by rocks. With no way out, the marksman runs up the mountain, knowing he needs to be very fast if he wants to survive. Seizing the moment, he uses the ability of his new web ring. A sturdy magical thread attaches firmly to the top of the steep cliff. With a perfect leap, the guy swings through the air and manages to cross the giant chasm in complete safety. Behind him, a brutal explosion completely shatters the path he just left. From the flames emerges a giant, winged, demonic creature, leading the newbie to deduce that this is the book's true guardian. To confirm the danger, the protagonist activates his transcendent vision without breaking stride. The panel reveals it's the Guardian of Order, a colossal level 100 monster with an absurd amount of health. The enraged beast wastes no time and launches a shower of flaming meteors toward the intruder. Knowing that any hit will be an instant takedown, the thief flees desperately, swearing he needs to get back to the city urgently. Far away, Link City is in a total panic, with players wondering what on earth is happening. A regional alert appears in the system, ordering an immediate evacuation due to the approach of a draconic creature. In the military courtyard, the elite Holy Crusader Guard quickly assembles, clad in heavy armor. Players watch the NPCs march together, completely confused by the sudden event in the middle of the map. As he flees through the forest, the protagonist looks up and is shocked to realize the flying beast has spotted him. Tearing a speed scroll, the marksman becomes a blue blur cutting through the dark woods. An overwhelming energy blast tears through the scenery, destroying the entire area where he was seconds before. Sliding across the burning ground, the newbie tries to stay focused on holding out just a little longer until he can shake the monster. Using the magic ring again, he fires a precise web at the trunk of a giant tree. The momentum launches the guy's body through the air, ensuring an agile and perfect escape from the lethal explosions. The The frantic chase finally reaches the peaceful outskirts of the walled city. Facing the large barrier, the protagonist breathes a sigh of relief to see the Imperial soldiers are already in action. The flaming creature flies over the area and lets out a deafening roar of pure fury against the walls. From the top of the walls, Lord Nysod commands the Crusaders and orders the defensive line to prepare for war. The Lord firmly announces that they will make that foolish dragon face a sacred judgment. In the sky, the boss prepares its ultimate magic and summons the fearsome scorching meteor. An apocalyptic shower of flames rains down on the city, leaving the adventurers terrified of the imminent impact. The city alarm blares, warning of the catastrophic invasion, and despair grips the crowd as they foresee their own end. The Lord raises his glowing staff and commands the immediate activation of the central protection barrier. A gigantic, purplish spherical shield completely covers the entire fortress, blocking the sky. The meteors collide violently against the dome, and the residents take a deep breath, thankful to be alive. Without missing a beat, the commander points his sword to the sky and orders the archers to fire with full force. A huge, massive ice spear is launched from the base, crossing the bright skies like a cutting beam. The projectile freezes the winds and creates a true, overwhelming tornado that engulfs the flying target. The magic hits the beast's chest dead on, dealing massive damage, while the soldiers shout for the glory of the Crusaders. The demonic creature can't withstand the accumulated pressure and lets out a terrible scream of agony. Trying to retaliate at all costs, the monster uses a sharp trident that shatters the top of the village's magic shield. Watching the chaos from a distance, the protagonist notices several greedy gelds waiting for the Lord to fall so they can steal the loot. He recognizes some big shots from the past in the plaza, including Radiant Star, the leader of the Radiant Temple Guild. Further ahead is Drawn Sword, the feared commander of Dark Massacre, known for being a real piece of work. The newbie remembers all too well how he had to deal with this arrogant guy many times in his previous life. The loyal leader taunts his rival, guaranteeing he's already hit level 6, and that he'll never be able to surpass his team's strength. Drawn Sword just scoffs, claiming the point difference is minimal, while his lackey suggests annihilating their adversaries right then and there. Far from the political squabble, the marksman leaps between rooftops, following the epic battle raging in the dark sky. A brutal sequence of giant ice spikes continues to punish the Guardian, giving it no chance to recover. The terrifying Lord is completely suppressed and immobilized by dozens of celestial spells coming from the plaza ground. Nysod wields a glowing arrow, guaranteeing the profane creature will face its final judgment now. The general fires his ultimate piercing technique, which tears through the air at an impressive speed. The blue beam hits the monster dead on in mid-air, causing a luminous explosion throughout the entire fortress. The colossal beast's health bar finally hits 0, and the system confirms the invincible boss's bloody fall. Seeing the golden equipment drop, the two rival leaders instantly realize their golden opportunity. Immediately, both order their troops back and dash with everything they have to grab the item in the middle of the plaza. Not missing his chance, the thief invokes his camouflage, becoming an invisible shadow on the rooftops. Drawn Sword leaps, stretching out his arm and guaranteeing that the flying monster's prize belongs only to him. The other guild's lackeys curse in anger, realizing they won't be able to steal the treasure in time. The team's marksman screams at the top of his lungs, telling them to stop that flying opportunist immediately. With an agile move, the Radiant Temple's leader throws a magic whip to halt the enemy's advance. Radiant Star eagerly soars through the air and declares an early victory over the coveted relic. However, his rival uses absurd strength to return the magic, trapping his partner in gravity with no difficulty. As the two big shots fight in the air, an invisible hand swoops in and snags the glowing crown before they can. The leaders land in shock as they see the shadow of a cheeky thief retreating with the valuable loot. The newbie reveals his face with a smug look, concluding that they've unfortunately been left without their free items. Absolutely furious at the audacious theft, Drawn Sword curses the meddler, completely losing control. Landing with style and elegance, the loyal leader doesn't take his eyes off the kid's flawless movements. To everyone's surprise, he shows sympathy and thanks the intruder, calling him brother, as if they were allies. Turning his back without a care, the marksman laments not getting anything useful from it, and says he's leaving. The commander of Dark Massacre shoots him a dark look, guaranteeing the kid is mistaken if he thinks he's walking out of here alive. The criminal guild's brutes quickly advance, blocking the path with their weapons raised. Without a hint of fear, the protagonist faces the threat with boredom, questioning how they plan to force him to stay. The temple's leader approaches the guy and firmly states that the stranger is his old friend. He warns that if the rival guild is looking for trouble, they'll have to get his entire team's consent first. Completely bloodthirsty, the jerk accepts the challenge and swears that today, no one is leaving that plaza alive. With a laugh, Radiant Star notes that it looks like there's absolutely nothing left for them to do there. A goon informs Sleepy Fox that the thief is the expert, Nirvana Flame, the same one who sold the dungeon guide. Intrigued by the information, the blonde leader acknowledges that the punk's skill in stealing the item proves he's truly incredible. On the other side, Drawn Sword's subordinate asks, completely lost, what they should do in this complicated situation. Taking the lead, Sleepy Fox amicably invites the protagonist to explore the Ogmat Swamp dungeon with his guild. This sudden and friendly proposal catches Drawn Sword completely by surprise. Radiant Star is also very intrigued by the unexpected invitation coming directly from the rival leader. The mood grows tense as members of the other guilds wrongly assume the newbie is part of the blonde commander's group. Unintimidated, the marksman accepts the invitation on the spot but demands one condition. He gets priority on all thief equipment that drops. The crowd is in shock at the kid's audacity to impose such absurd rules on a well-respected leader in such a tense moment. The shady lackey points out that the punk is pushing his luck with all this arrogance, even after being saved from the mess. Sleepy Fox agrees the kid is bold but states that those who speak with such confidence usually have a lot of skill. Without losing his good humor, the commander accepts the condition, guaranteeing priority on the items if the newbie actually joins the raid. The peaceful decision leaves all the warriors dumbfounded, unable to understand how a big shot accepted a stranger's terms. Cornered, the criminal gang realizes the situation has turned sour and admits it's impossible to fight against two gigantic guilds. Taking advantage of the situation, the blonde asks Drawn Sword for a favor and tells him to just forget the whole thing to end the conflict. Swallowing his pride in complete frustration, the dark leader gives in to the pressure and decides to let the theft slide. Deeply annoyed by the diplomatic defeat, he turns his back and orders his entire guild to leave immediately. Soon, Radiant Star approaches, surprised by the alliance with the rival group, but the protagonist assures him he's overthinking it. The blonde commander ironically asks about the loot, and the blue-haired sorcerer laments that the piece is practically junk. The panel reveals it's a gold-tier chestplate, but it requires an absurd 100 points to be equipped successfully. The mage leader sighs, explaining that the current level of all players makes it impossible to sell or use the item. Ignoring the rival's frustration, Sleepy Fox focuses on the newbie, celebrating their future hunt, and receives a sincere thank you for the help. Excited about the partnership, the blonde suggests they add each other in the system, while Radiant Star takes the chance to invite him too. The marksman accepts the requests, finding it ironic that he ended up befriending the game's biggest big shots so early on. With the situation completely resolved, the guy tells his new allies he has to go and calmly says goodbye to the duo. Walking along the city's peaceful sidewalks, he feels a great sense of relief to finally have free time to appraise his new dagger. Using his brilliant magical appraisal skill, he perfectly unlocks the mysterious equipment's hidden stats. Completely amazed by the discovery, the adventurer realizes it's a secondary blade that offers an absurd damage bonus. Very satisfied with his initial progress, the protagonist continues his journey, passing through the immense gates of the bustling Telex city. Crossing through the large teleportation pillar, the guy decides to use the last half hour of game time to finish the doctor's quest. His destination throws him directly into the gloomy Fishman's village, a scene now completely dominated by chaos and thick smoke. Staring at the burning houses, the thief concludes that the rival guild acted super fast and has already wiped the entire settlement off the map. Observing the adventurers exploring the rubble, he cleverly deduces that these solo players gathered the fine silks here. With no time to hunt and focused on speed, the protagonist negotiates for the pieces directly with the allies in exchange for a few coins. Soon after, he travels swiftly to the green shores of the peaceful heart of the lake island under a sunny sky. Approaching the old fisherman, the newbie gets his attention, and the old man politely asks how the long task went. The guy extends a glowing hand and delivers the 90 units required for the quest, hoping the fabrics will be very useful. The doctor is overjoyed with the perfect delivery and gratefully announces that he can now finally return to the fortress. Radiating an impressive divine energy, the old man thanks the adventurer for his kindness and swears that the holy light will purify the continent. As proof of his immense gratitude, the doctor blesses him with a massive experience reward that floods the young man's body. Upon opening his inventory, The guy is stunned to find that the old man hid a pair of very expensive gold boots as a final gift. Just then, a global announcement appears on the screen, communicating that the servers will be shutting down, and he sees his experience bar is almost full. Very satisfied, the thief regrets the lack of time but calmly accepts leaving level 5 for the next day. With the clear conscience of having crushed the initial competition, the player's body turns to digital dust as he heads back to the real world. Waking up in his own quiet room, the guy slowly removes the heavy virtual immersion gear from his tired head, sitting on his bed in the dim light. He reflects on everything he managed to achieve in just 2 intense days of focused gaming. Determined to change his tragic fate, the young man starts a series of sit-ups, ensuring he needs to improve his physical body as well. Breaking a sweat and pushing his muscles to the limit, the marksman swears to himself that he won't falter for even a second in this new life. Upping the difficulty of his training, he does push-ups supported only by his hands while thinking about the limits of his own strength. Finishing his exercises by lifting weights, the guy decides that finding a martial arts center is the best way to measure his capabilities. The day breaks, and he arrives at the imposing and sophisticated glass facade of the famous Lin family's sports complex. Walking through the luxurious reception area, the guy buys a 2-hour pass when a surprised female voice calls his name. It's his arrogant ex-classmate, who approaches, accusing him of stalking her after she rejected the young man in the past. Staring at the guy's back, the rich girl scoffs, deducing that his bankrupt family makes him a true failure in life. Her current buff boyfriend appears out of nowhere, asking with disgust who the scrawny weirdo running around near them is. She replies curtly that he's just a despicable classmate, but one who, curiously, has pretty decent grades. Completely oblivious to the duo's petty gossip, the protagonist positions himself in front of the gigantic technological tensile strength testing machine. Concentrating all his energy into his body, the guy pulls the metal handle with an impressive burst of aggression. Cutting through the air, the electronic panel beeps loudly, revealing the incredible mark of 162 kilograms registered on the super modern equipment. The guy analyzes his own panting hand, finding the mark pathetic compared to his past life, but reasonable for his current body. Satisfied with the first test number, the young man calmly walks toward the simulator focused on weight-bearing capacity. Applying all his strength to the metal base, the guy lifts an incredible 155 kilograms, creating a loud bang in the hall. Far away, the boyfriend notices the distracted girl and asks with a very arrogant smile, "What's so interesting on the other side?" The big guy scoffs, calling the kid a scrawny little monkey, guaranteeing there's nothing interesting to look at in that direction. However, the mood in the place changes drastically when the protagonist smashes the impact testing surface with an absolutely devastating punch. The violent boom reverberates through the structures, catching the attention of every single frozen member of the sports complex. Faced with the insane impact caused by such a slim guy, the buff boyfriend's jaw drops, unable to process the absurd scene. The rich girl is also in a pure state of shock at the brutal and relentless show of force from her former, rejected suitor. Maintaining an unshakable calm, the young man relaxes his striking posture as if that great effort was absolutely nothing. His intense self-discovery session over, he passes by the illuminated reception, wiping sweat from his face in a very carefree manner. Changing her attitude, the ex-classmate hands him an envelope, stating with complete awe that he just broke the gym's local record. Surprised by the reward, the guy accepts the card and the 26,000, thanking her for the completely unexpected extra cash from his workout. Mesmerized by the new muscular hunk, the young woman blushes with embarrassment and softly invites him for some free drinks at a bar. Without a second's hesitation, the protagonist cuts through the gold digger's fakeness, coldly saying no before turning his back for good. Completely ignoring the gold digger's call, the protagonist simply keeps walking away. Super annoyed at being blown off, the rich girl crosses her arms, cursing the guy for being poor and assuring herself she'd never waste her time on him anyway. After that, the marksman visits a city mall to buy supplements, relieved to have secured rent and expenses for the month. With a state-of-the-art virtual helmet in hand, he decides it's time to head home and focus on leveling up. The digital scenery quickly materializes, and the adventurer reappears in the game's open fields under a sunny sky. Since he already got the Featherfall Jewel, Nayen declares his goal now is to hit level 4 and hunt the fearsome Lion King Kato. Wasting no time, the thief uses his stealth and massacres several water spiders until he's finally bathed in the light of a new level. Using a return scroll, he calculates that taking down that elite boss will guarantee level 5, but he needs to prepare well. The teleportation completes successfully, and the guy reappears in the middle of the bustling streets of the Empire's capital. During his walk through the commercial district, the guy arrives at the city's large and busy auction house. Analyzing the market, he remembers that the opening of the dreaded So's Valley is near, and that the big guilds will be rushing there. Because of the werewolf's deadly claws, the newbie deduces that the price of antidote potions will quintuple overnight. At a common vendor's counter, the thief asks for 5 full quivers of poisoned arrows for his stock. Right after, he demands the entire stock of black phenol potions and their recipes, leaving the merchant shocked by the order. Satisfied with the transaction, the protagonist collects the items, knowing very well that he'll soon make a real fortune on the market. With the profit stashed in his inventory, the adventurer uses the fast travel system and heads straight for the small Moto village. The guy crosses the quiet streets and classic buildings of the town, completely focused on his next great challenge. Leaving the safety of the walls behind, the marksman takes off like a lightning bolt through the green fields. Thanks to his accumulated agility, he cuts through the low vegetation with firm and very swift strides. The long run leads him straight to the dangerous Crimson Dream Hills, where a giant chasm opens up on the horizon under the sun. Scouting the hunting area, the marksman finally spots the imposing level 7 Lion King and notes that the beast exudes an absurd amount of strength. In search of a tactical advantage, the protagonist climbs a giant rock wall and declares he's found the perfect spot for the attack. Without a second thought, he leaps backward into the deadly chasm and activates his coveted jewel to make his body as light as a feather. Taking advantage of the slow, safe fall, the thief extends his hand and activates the special power of his new spider web ring. As he swings toward a hidden branch on the cliff, the newbie pulls out his heavy crossbow, guaranteeing he's about to exploit an impenetrable map glitch.